All right, this is recording now, so or at least I think it is. All right, this is WordPress. Basically, it's it's a blogging software, but people run major websites off of WordPress. Like some major news outlets use WordPress. It's very useful. But the thing that we use it for specifically is for blog posts, and the way that you can start using it is initially you're going to want to go to a dashboard. So you're going to have a user account. I think, Jenny, did everybody get their accounts set up, or was that something that I was supposed to do?
I think Gary was, or someone was going to do that. If we need to do it after this, we can.
Okay. Well, if if anybody still needs an account and hasn't received it yet, just send me an email, and I can set them up in in a little bit. So, all right. Once you have an account, you're probably going to get an author account for the most part, and it's not going to have all the bells and whistles that I have because I have an admin account. But
approaching the maximum length for a recording. Show recording after the tone.
So somebody's phone is I don't know. It's in their voicemail, I think. It's kind of funny. Anyway, so you're gonna go to your dashboard, and that's where pretty much most of this stuff will start.
You have reached the maximum length for a recording. To send message, pound or hang up. To it. To re-record it or add to 5 to 6.
It's very odd.
To send this message, press pound or up. To play it, 3. To re-record it, 4. To add to it, 5. To discard it, 6.
Am I the only one hearing this?
No, we're
Your
hearing
message
it.
has been sent. If you would like to try an extension, you may do so now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that's over. Okay. So, all right, on with the show. This is the dashboard. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, this is Murray.
Yep, I hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. Sorry, that was weird. So this is a dashboard, and it gives you a lot of stuff here. For you, it probably is not going to have all these things. Most authors probably won't have access to all the comments and whatnot. You might, but it's been a while since I had an author account. But here's where you're going to be looking is in the posts section. You hover over posts. Also, you'll probably be playing around with the media library. So I'll go into that in a second. But for posts, you can click on it or just hover over it and then click all posts. And you can see all of the posts. It's loading up. All right. There are some posts. Now, here's posts. This is Beth Lamb, Timothy Lawson, Nick Perlman. These are some of our Veteran of the Day posts and whatnot. But if you want to create a new post, very simple, you go to Add New. All right, so here we are at a new post. Now, one of the things that I frequently tell people to do when I'm kind of showing them how to get started is to set up their screen. And the way that you do this is by going into Screen Options. It's right up here at the top, right underneath where it says Howdy, whatever your name is. You click on Screen Options and you take a look and see what's in here. So let's look at a featured image right here. If I uncheck featured image goes away. If I uncheck tags goes away. But I want tags and I want a featured image. So I'm going to go ahead and leave them there. But the things that I typically keep selected are format, categories, tags, featured image, Yoast SEO, excerpt, and author. I don't really keep anything else set up, but you are welcome to do so if you like. And also, I don't know, if you're worried about comments on a post that you've written, I think you might be able to keep discussion selected. But I don't really deal with comments, so it's not like a thing that I'm worried about. Also, your layout, one column would kind of leave everything taking up a full full column, whereas two column kind of, you have a little sidebar here. I like two column personally, and that's the way I leave it. So those are your screen options, and it often helps to like if you're. I've had people ask me like, well, or tell me I don't see that option. Where is it? Well, often they don't have, say, the excerpt selected, so it's kind of hard for them to enter an excerpt because they don't have that option. So go in here, get yourself set up first, and then close the screen options, and you're good to go. Now, next up, we have title. And this was, I actually asked some of the other people on the digital media engagement team, like what suggestions they have. And they suggested make sure you have a good title. Because I was like, what should I cover on this training? And they said, make sure that they know to put a good title. Don't try to get all fancy with a catchy, like, this veteran signed up for VA healthcare and you won't believe what happened next. Instead, go for, just simple, like explain what the post is about. No big deal. You don't have to, you don't have to go clickbait. It's not like we get paid extra for, getting traffic on this page. So write a good title. For this one, I'm going to say Veteran of the Day or something like that. I don't typically see people putting subtitles, but you can if you want. Now, notice permalink. This is the link that will be pointing to your post. Notice it has, we have it actually set up in the blog settings so that it goes, it will be the URL /vantage / and a number. And that's probably, I don't know. It's just a generated number. I'm not sure exactly how that number is generated, but it helps randomize these posts. So like you don't have two posts with the same link and stuff like that. And then this one says /Veteran of the Day. You can edit it if it doesn't look right. But once you post it, you probably don't want to go back and change the link too much because people might be linking to your post. And then if you go back and edit that link, it breaks their link. And so now they're pointing to something that doesn't exist. So that's your link. You can put, here's a subtitle. All right, there's a subtitle. Yay. And all right, so now let's set a featured image. I'll show you what a featured image is, actually. Visit site. I'll open that in a new tab. Featured image. This right here, this is a featured image. Here's one. This is a Veteran of the Day. I actually made this featured image, so I'm going to show it off. Yay! This was a post that was, people submit these Veteran of the Day, like they submit a veteran in their life, and this was someone's father they submitted. And so we did this Veteran of the Day. This is the featured image, and notice it kind of shows up in its own little special pane, and it kind of has a little motion associated with it. Well, that's the featured image, and you'll note that oops, not dashboard. I didn't want to go to the dashboard. That it shows up in various places. Not on the dashboard, but sorry, we're doing this live, so kind of takes a little while. VA internet. So it shows up, in this big featured image carousel, but it also shows up, in these little sections right here. This little, this is a thumbnail. And I didn't actually upload like 5 different sizes of this image. It's actually 1920 by 1080. It's a pretty big graphic, but it WordPress automatically reduces the size. It makes a bunch of different sizes of each image. So if you were to look inside of the database or whatever, you'll see like there's a large, and there's a medium, and there's a small, there's a thumbnail. It makes them all various different sizes, so it's not something that you'll really need to worry about, but it does that behind the scenes. But that's where the featured image goes. And notice while I'm here, see this little section right here, David Zerflo, of course I picked the very hard to pronounce name to read, talks about his time in the Air Force, his accident and injury, the evolution of accommodations, and how his organization serves veterans. Well, that's actually from the post as well, and that's in a little-known section called the excerpt. and that's why I keep it selected, because people that don't have it selected, they're like, well, how do I add an excerpt? Well, you add it right here. And that excerpt actually feeds through to the homepage, and that's where this comes from. This little text section right here, you got your title, and then you have your excerpt. And so it kind of feeds through to various, there's other areas where it could show as well, depending on the view on a particular page where the post shows up. But that excerpt is very important because it kind of flows through the website to various different places to kind of show up as a little snippet about what this post is talking about. So that is an excerpt. Let's see. So here, this is a post about a veteran of the day. So if I was to publish it, then that would show up in the little black box here to say that what the post is about. It's a little summary. Here is obviously the body of the post, and this is where obviously you're gonna write things out. So you got this is pretty useful. Toggle tool or toolbar toggle. Sometimes depending on how you have it set up when you create your account, you might not see all these options, like if you want to change the text color or you want to do a horizontal line. Or other things of that nature, and you might not see it. Like, how do I do it? Try clicking this little toolbar toggle, and you'll find some additional options for formatting, and adding a carousel or a page break or things of it. I don't know why you would add a page break, but if you wanted to, you could do that. Drop caps, maybe. You can add a table here. You just hover over these and it tells you what they're for. Also, you see over here is text. If you know how to write in HTML and you really want to, you can do that. So, href equals, you get the idea. /a. And it'll show up. If you, there. Go back over to visual, and now there's a hyperlink that links to nothing. But that's, if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. One thing I will show you is, let me open up a Veteran of the Day post real quick to get some content for you. This was for a veteran named Jim Reese. If I can get Microsoft Word to open up while I'm doing training. But, so while that's going, I'll talk about something else. Here's tags. Tags are important because it tells people what a post is about. Also, now we use tags like this one this is a Army veteran, Stanley Nelson, and he was in the Army, so Army veteran. He was in the Korean War, so you put that. He was a prisoner of war and had a Purple Heart, Silver Star. So we had some tags that kind of reference some of that stuff. So let's say if somebody is interested in people who earn Purple Hearts, well, they can click on that tag, and it'll pull up all the posts that have the tag Purple Heart. And notice a lot of them have graphics with Purple Heart. So I don't know if that's what they're into. Then that's that's what they can search for. What if it's a Marine who likes to read posts about Marine veterans? Well, you click on Marine veteran, and it'll take you to a list of all the Marine veterans that we have featured and tagged. Now, here's the rub. If you didn't tag it Marine veteran, then it won't show up here. That might show up in a search if you search for United States Marines or something like that, but it won't show up easily in a tag, and so they're not really related. It's not easy to relate one to the other if you don't have the tags on there. So I like to find, in these posts, like if it, I tag branches, I tag, personally I would have tagged Fort Knox. It's interesting. I don't know. Somebody wants to know about Fort Knox for some reason. Japan, maybe. I don't know. Korean War, yes. I might even put 8th Engineer Combat Battalion, because some people, like some of our followers, are kind of, like maybe they served in that battalion. Who knows?
I think there's a question.
Sure. Sorry, I didn't see it. What was it? Oh no.
Is that Dan?
No, I was trying to do this verbally. writing it. Maybe you couldn't hear me. But I'm wondering, is there a standard list of tags? Because I have just recently learned that Vantage Point has a requirement of a minimum of 7 tags, but if you've got people who are new to posting, don't know what the standardized tags are, and just randomly making that up, it seems to me potentially a recipe for chaos.
You know what? That is a great question. And I'll be honest, I don't think that there is a standardized list of tags. And neither do I think that there is a standardized list of categories, which also becomes an issue and is also a recipe for chaos that I'm going to have to deal with in the next iteration of the blog, because we're actually going to be redesigning the blog in the near future.
Well, it just helps to know that chaos is more than a theory. That's fine.
Yeah, well, here, I think you probably understand this, but if you go to our homepage, if you look at the categories, I mean, they're all over the place. There's tons, and it's hard for someone to find what they're looking for because they have too many options. So, like VA medical centers, that has 4 posts. Does it really need to be its own category? Maybe. VA, maybe not. VA videos has 2 posts. Does it need to have its own category? Probably not. So it's I see that's a good question, and I think the answer is no. We don't currently have a official tags list, but I think we probably should, and we should definitely have an official categories list, but we do not thus far. So we'll, does that answer the question for you?
Well, yeah, that helps a lot. And I mean, my question is based partly on having done a lot on Pulse, which of course does not use WordPress, but my sense on Pulse was that you could just make up whatever tag you want, and I would sometimes try to do that and receive prompts of very similar tags, but not precisely the same. So you have a lot of duplication there as well.
Yeah.
I was curious, and it sounds like you're thinking about it, so that is.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things that kind of it's on my back burner. There is something that needs to be addressed. It's gotten out of hand at this point, because you'll have there's a tag for Army veteran, there's a tag for Army, like there's all sorts of tags that kind of refer to the same thing a little bit, and it's kind of a pain. One thing that you can do to try to prevent that to a certain extent is maybe start typing it in and then select one of the options. So maybe start typing Army and then look what's in there. Oh, okay, Army Assistant Surgeon. Well, let's go with that. Instead of coming up with your own tag, maybe try to start typing in instead of Korean War veteran. Oh, it's already in there. So instead of making up your own one, you can search and see what's in there and then add that. So that's an example. But I do like your question. Here, I'm going to post some text in here. I want to show you guys what happens behind the scenes here when you post some text. So here is some text. This is copied straight out of Microsoft Word. Kind of looks a little funky when you paste it in there. Here we go. Text. Now, I showed you this little tab right here, text. And I showed you that earlier, but I want to go back to it because sometimes you can clear up some problems if you go back here. I didn't show it. Often you'll find it, it's like in, HTML over here, /p, or let's see, if I made something bold, let's see if it shows up. Bold. Yeah, so strong. Notice it shows up as strong. You'll start seeing HTML code show up in the back in the text tab. So if something's not looking exactly the way you like and you're comfortable with working with HTML, sometimes that's something that you can do is hop in the back end and actually edit the HTML instead of trying to work with the visual design.
And Dom?
Yes.
Dom? This is Matt Crockett here. I was going to say, and I have that issue when I'm doing the author photo and I'm putting it in through Add Media Library. I have to go add an H space and a V space so that it displays correctly every time. Put a little buffer around the image.
You can add like a
have you noticed
margin. That? Personally, I don't really do a lot of blogging for our team, but you make a good point. Like, let's say you add an image and you want there to be a margin around, like you were talking about. You can add margins. You can go to you can go in there and say, because here, let's add a photo in here. Add media.
Yeah, and then you just do H space and V space for vertical or horizontal.
And let's see if I got a nice picture of Jim Reese. I believe I made a picture of him. And then just upload it. Ah, here we go. Jim Reese 3. JPEG. Go ahead and drop it right in there. Now, since we're here and we're adding a photo, notice it's 1920 by 1080. The actual, for a featured image, we are using a template that has to be used elsewhere. It's 1920 by 1080, so it makes it a good picture for YouTube as well. But otherwise, our standard featured image size is, I believe, 730 by 370. So you might want to write that down somewhere. So if you want your picture to display it accurately and not get cut off or smushed or anything like that, probably shoot for a 730 by 370 photo when you're adding it as a featured image. Every other image you can add, whatever size you want. But for the featured image, if you want it to be exactly as you created it when you post it, you should use 730 by 370. But now, while we're here, I just added a picture. It's a picture of a veteran, and his name is Jim Reese. The title, probably change that, photo of Jim Reese, veteran of the day. You might even be able to use this for your alt text a little bit if you want. But changing the title would be, to something a little better would probably be useful. But also, you want to add alternative text. That's what alt text stands for, and that's because, one, it's a 508 requirement. So you, in order for us to, remain to the extent that we can in compliance with Section 508 of, what was it, Americans with Disabilities Act? I don't know. Anyway, Section 508 requirements. It's required because one of the issues is that, if somebody's blind and you have a photo on there and you have no alternative text, they're using a screen reader, and that screen reader will kind of read your alternative text and try to tell that person what is there. But if you don't have any, then they don't. You basically just uploaded nothing for them. And so it's kind of excluding them. At least, one thing that you can do is just add a little description, standing in a field. I don't know. You can be a little more descriptive. Purple heart. Okay, great. You don't have to explain every last detail. Like there's a fence in the back, and there's he's wearing a bulletproof vest. You don't have to get too into the weeds, but give them a feel for what it is that is there, so that they kind of know what's going on your page as well. So, and then you click Insert into the post. You can put a little description, but you don't have to. So here's this picture. It showed up, and the same. If you wanted to add it as a featured image, set featured image, you can actually just grab it from the media library. Notice it still has alternative text now because I added it. Set featured image, boom. And let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions that came up. Maybe I'm missing something, but I thought the featured photo had to be at least 1,000 by 550. Yeah, I guess that somebody answered that. That's for some other website that I don't know of. But yeah, for you can put, if you wanted to we put a 1920 by 1080 photo in as our featured image. That's what this is, and it shows up reasonably well. It's not exact, it's not exactly the way we would like it, but it, WordPress kind of scrunches it in there. You see, it shows well. The dimensions are such that it can be compressed a bit and still show up in the window. But some of it might get cut off, or some of it might get smushed. But, it does okay. So, but if you want it to be exactly correct, you should use 730 by 370. And so, notice we added a picture here, and there are different alignment options. You can align it center, you can align it left, you can align it no alignment, which is what I think happened initially. And then you can go into here to edit it. You can add some classes and whatnot. Probably won't be doing that. And I think we were discussing it earlier. You can go into the text now, and you can actually get into the HTML code, and you can add some styles to it so that it will put a little padding on the left and the right. But that's not required. Most people would probably be able to get away with just kind of adding your photo and be done with it. And let's see, we already went through tags. There's also a there's different formats. I don't really use this much. All the stuff I do is basically just standard, but sometimes we have to use a video. Like sometimes you want a video to play, and you want it to be identified. Hey, there's a video here, so you kind of add it as a video post. I believe Tim, who does our podcast, adds his stuff as audio posts. And I mean, it's just more semantics about the post itself. Definitely, you'll want to use the excerpt so that when it shows up on the home page, as I showed you, if it's in a situation where it has this section of text where it can describe the post a little bit, you want to use that to your advantage. Also, keep in mind that there's only a certain amount of space here for that stuff. I think it goes up to maybe 160 characters. Or some, I would try to limit it to around 160 characters, because that will feed into the next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is this Yoast SEO plugin that we use. Notice this already this is a snippet. This is a snippet that is based on what you might see. It's kind of a representation of what a veteran who searched for veteran of the day, or maybe not veteran, anybody who searched on Google for veteran of the day, this is how the link would show up. This post is about a veteran of the day. Okay? Now, generally, what happens is, in this case, it took that straight from the excerpt, right? Which is, that's useful. But notice, I take the excerpt out, and it defaults to the first, probably about 160 characters of the paragraph, or of the first paragraph of the post. Now, generally speaking, most people don't start their blog post with a big, like a short summary of exactly what the post is about. And that's what Google needs in order to, this is your one chance to entice somebody to click through to your post. And so you maybe don't want it to say the first line of your blog post. Instead, you'd probably want it to say something, more concise, an explanation of what this post is about. And one of those things that you can do is, if you keep this excerpt short enough, you could probably use the excerpt and just kind of edit this snippet so that it's the same as the excerpt. So generally speaking, for these blog posts about veteran of the day blog posts, we actually have interns that write a lot of these posts. We do most of them, or some of them ourselves, but when we have interns, they help us out with that stuff. But I have them write an excerpt as well, and I tell them to keep it short enough so that I can also use it in the SEO title. So go into Meta, you click on Edit Snippet, and you go into the meta description, and you add a description. Now, this thing is going to tell you how much longer you can go. So, if I wanted to make it a little longer, it went too far. And you'll notice, I'm pointing at my screen as though you're going to see my finger. You'll notice that right here it kind of gets cut off, and on Google it'll probably have a ... or something like that. And so clearly we've seen that this is too long. So we go in here, we can delete some of it. Up to period, But notice it stays green. It's kind of like a tweet. It stays green, and then you keep typing in, it turns red. And that's how you got cut off. So close snippet editor, and now you have yourself a nice snippet. You can do focus keyword and all this stuff. I haven't really gotten that much into that personally, but I do like having the snippet updated so that you get to control how it's going to look in a search result. And then author, you can come in here and choose the author. If it's not you, then you choose somebody else. So for me, I can come in here and choose any one of these people. Hold on a second. All right. If you guys have any questions, please type them in here. Give me one moment. Somebody's at my door, unfortunately. All right, sorry for that, guys. The cleaning lady showed up a half an hour early. So, all right. I think we've covered most of the stuff involved in posting. Oh, one thing that you will notice here, we have the section for publish. You can do a preview, and I like to save them as draft. You can save it as a draft. Don't click publish until you're ready for it to go out. You can also schedule it. You can say publish immediately, or hold on, it's updating. Or you can edit that and actually choose a day and time for it to go out. So, which is let's say August 8th of 2019. Let's make sure it doesn't go out now. Okay. So, and then you click publish, and it will get published. It'll schedule it for publishing on that day. So if you want something to go out over the weekend, but you don't want to be online to do it, you can actually schedule it to go out later. And if you want to see what your post is going to look like, you can click the preview button, and it will pop up a nice preview for you. And see, notice, some of that Army SEAL is getting cut off there. And there's actually stuff below this ribbon right here that gets cut off as well. That's why we say if you want it to display the way that you want it, it's 730 by 370. And here's your photo in your post, some text, all this stuff. And notice related posts. Often this is this can be this is generated based on what category you put it in, what kind of tags you have added to the post. We added Korean War veteran, and I'm guessing this person is probably a Korean War veteran, which is how that got generated. But this is how you do a preview. Here's a subtitle. That's where a subtitle shows up, and this is your title, and there's that. If you hear any noise in the background, sorry, there's cleaning ladies here. Let's see. Is there a step-by-step SOP available for posting that might be especially helpful for those new to posting on Vantage Point? I can ask Gary if he has some kind of an SOP for posts. I have not been given one, so I don't have one for you. But I can, like I said, I'll write that down so I can get back to Gary on that. Hold on. Is there an SOP for posts? All right, I have taken that down. What else? Anybody have some questions? Jenny, is there anything you could think of that I should also cover? Here, I'll show you guys one other thing. There's the media library. And you can actually go into the media library if you'd like. Notice this Jim Reese photo is now in here. But if you needed to search, we actually have, if you don't have a graphic, we actually have a default graphic for posts by, like a guest post or something. And that's this one right here, VA guest post. You can use that. We also have stuff for if it's just a news article that you're sharing, you don't have a picture. I recommend you have pictures, but if you don't have one, you can type in news. And we have a VA news release, like default graphic. I actually created these, but you know, we have stuff like that you can use. Let's see. Love the SOP idea. And so, yeah, this is the media library, and you can just kind of go through here and find stuff to use in your post. Or if you have already put stuff, like if you need to put it in here, you can actually go straight to the media library. And generally, I believe you can just drag and drop stuff on here. So let's see let's see if I can drag and drop it. Yeah, if you hover over over this page, you can actually drop stuff right on there, and it'll upload it there. Or you can go here to add new, and it'll give you a page to drop files, or you can just click and select them from your computer if you're more comfortable with that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anybody else have questions? I got the SOP idea.
I think one thing just to mention to folks is that there's, and some people may know this, but I don't know that everybody on the team does. So right now, VHA Digital Media sends out an Inside Veterans Health email once a week with the link to our one flagship article. Other things that are published on Vantage Point, and actually including ours, but just in general, things published on Vantage Point go out on a different Gov delivery list that includes all the articles, I believe. And that's sort of an automated update that goes out to the subscribers, includes lots of different articles. So our articles may be seen in two different ways. I may have mentioned this before, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to mention that to people. So when we talk about Inside Veterans Health, right now, the things that have the category of Inside Veterans Health are automatically also posted to our medical centers and our health website. Not the full text, but just sort of a little bit of the content embedded, and then a link to the Vantage Point article. So I just wanted to make sure people knew kind of that, just a little bit more about what was going on there. Other than that, I don't have any other questions, but I'm not the person most likely doing this, so it would probably be better if anybody else has questions to bring those up now.
One thing that I noticed that I didn't talk about, this is it's not super important, but you might find it useful, is that notice when I click on this image, it's kind of like, this is kind of like working with a Word document. Like if you could type up a document in Word, you could probably write a blog post here and publish it. But you can actually select this image and grab this corner and like adjust the size. So the image is going to, like the actual size of the image hasn't changed. It's just that it's going to display at a smaller size. So if you like go back here, generally, well, it's not showing it. But yeah, so if your picture is showing up, if you're adding a picture to the post and it's showing up too big or something, and you want to adjust that, you can modify the size. Notice I have no alignment here. So if I wanted to align that to the right now, I can align it to the right. If I wanted to align it to the left, align it to the left. Put it back in the center. Also, another useful thing, horizontal rule, horizontal line. You can click and add those if you want. Sometimes people like to add a little section at the bottom saying, hey, information about the author or graphic was designed by or whatever. Maybe a little section about about a doctor or about a location or something. You can just put a little horizontal line and add it at the bottom. That's pretty much all I can think of. Oh, see, yeah, here it is. Width 451, height 280. So you're just adding some more HTML elements, telling the page, hey, show it at this size. It's actually this other size, but show it at this size.
And then sometimes you have to add H space or V space, horizontal space or vertical space on it. And so you just go in there wherever you see the width and height, and just before that, and you would duplicate a similar entry, and you would just type H space equals open, say 10, close quote, and then V space, so that you put a little buffer around it, because sometimes the formatting doesn't work exactly right. And sometimes you'll need to go in there and add this information in there to correct the photograph so it gets the right spacing around it, or otherwise text will be too close or too far from it.
Yeah. So there's that.
And yeah, and it happens a lot when you're like if there's if we have the I guess it's Vantage Point contributor, and so when we do that, we have to add information in the author bio sections, little line break that you used, and then we'll put about the author. And if they submit a photo, that's especially where it needs to be done because the text wrapping doesn't work, and you have to put a buffer on that image specifically, even though it's aligned to the left, or otherwise the info about the author you type will come over the image or be right next to it. You'll have icons on the bottom for Facebook sharing, for all the other social media shares that will be partially over the image. And so you want it to look clean. And so you'll put that H space, V space in there to keep the social media buttons from being on top of the image.
Yeah, I think this one doesn't have the graph or the photo of the author that you were talking about, but this is an example. People throw a horizontal line at the bottom and then have a little section, hey, about the author, Pamela Johnson, whatever. I can maybe try to find a different one. But yeah, we do that. We actually usually our Veteran of the Day posts have something like that. Yeah. This one doesn't have the photo in here, but often we have like stuff where when there's a guest post, they'll put a little photo in here. And yeah, it can get a little, like the spacing can get a little dicey when you do that at the bottom because stuff can like overlap.
Yeah, word wrapping.
Down. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so that's what we were talking about. Little horizontal line kind of makes a visual separation between, hey, this is the post, and here's some extra stuff. Anybody else?
And I just have one other thing. I noticed in here you only have the excerpt, but in mine I have the excerpt and the summary.
Huh.
And I've been putting information in both. In the excerpt, I understood to be like what you displayed on the home page, right? Because it shows up there, has a quick summary of what it is. But the summary, I understood, ties in with Yoast. It has to do with what it says about when you find it in the search engine.
Yeah, I don't have a summary. I have this snippet editor. Not sure where this summary is, to be honest with you. If you want to show it to me some other time, I would like to know. I
just go one-on-one with you. I can show it to you one-on-one.
I don't have a summary. I don't even have that option. So, which is odd because I'm an admin, so you'd think I'd have everything, right?
Yeah, and I used to be an admin, and then they took it away like a year and a half ago.
Unacceptable. I bet it was me. I think what Megan actually had me do that because I think we had like 40 or so admins, and it's like, wait a second. Problem is that people with admin access can actually break your blog. Like if they go in, they can go mess with some CSS somewhere, or they can go and disable a plugin, or and it's like, why do we have so many people that have this kind of access? So we kind of got rid of some of that. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this.